Hey squad, welcome back. Now today we're going to continue to produce in color. In fact, we're going to be coming up with a darker sounding R&B beat using some really simple techniques which are completely transferable from Logic Pro X that I'm going to be demonstrating in. You'll be able to do this in any DAW that you're using. Okay, now there's a lot to get through, but I'm just reminding you that if you're feeling what I'm doing, like the video because that will help to push my content much further. Subscribe to the channel, switch on the notification bell. And finally, if you're interested in one-to-one tuition or consultation, make sure you check out my website at musictechtraining.com. Anyway, it's that time, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first element I'm going to be using for this production is actually taken from my recent video where I produced a track called Simple Soul. Now this is a stripped down section of the track, but I'm going to isolate the bit that I'm going to be using as the core of today's video. Okay, so that section in red, that's the bit I'm going to be using for today's production. Okay, so let's get started with it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is grab this section and I'm going to bounce it in place. So just right click, come to bounce and join, bounce in place, or you could use the key command Control B. Okay, so here's my sample. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy both of these regions and I'm going to paste them into a brand new Logic project. Now the tempo of my original production was 160 BPM. I always change this to custom as well. So let's change that to custom, type in 160 here. Okay, so we've got the original MIDI region and we've got the bounce. So what you're going to find in this production is we're going to be using a lot of reversing in order to create the atmospheric feel I'm going for. So let's select that, come over here to the inspector for this region, and we're going to hit reverse right here. And let's hear this. I'm going to put a slight fade on each end so there's no clicking or glitching when the region starts and stops playing. Now that's step one. The next step is to come up with a drum pattern that's going to work for this production. So let's get that down. Okay, so here's the drum kit I'll be using. Now I'm going to go in, tidy that up, just add a few more elements, and then we'll have our drum beat. Okay, so far we've got the drums down. We've also got our core section, which I've just renamed right here. And here are our drums. Now this next element is another section from the Simple Soul production, which I've brought in. It's an electric guitar region, which I also played on that track. So let me just play that back to you real quick. Okay, cool. So now, again, we're going to use reverse. So we're just going to open up the inspector over here, the region inspector, make sure this is selected, hit reverse, and let's hear what this sounds like. Okay, it sounds a bit weird now, but let's bring some of those elements in. I've got the drums all finished up and bounced down to a single region, and let's play all of that together. That's sounding really good so far. Now I'm going to start adding some interesting effects to this lot. Now, one of the main effects I'll be adding is the logic spreader effect. It's absolutely magical in the way it transforms the sounds. So let's add that to some of these. So let's start with the core. And we come down here, we go to Insert, and under Modulation, Spreader. Okay, and I'm just going to stick to the default for now. I'm also going to add the spreader to the pick guitar. Let me play the region with the spreader bypassed and then engaged. Do you feel that open up? Much wider. I'm going to switch it off. And then it's all closed in. Okay, let's bring this one in. Closed in. Oh, that's really cool. Now with the drums. Yeah, now we're cooking. Okay, great. Now let's move to the next section. Okay, so for the next sound, we've got right here, grand piano. It's just a standard Logic grand piano, and I've copied the original chord progression, the warm tone, and I brought it down here, and all I've done is extended out the notes, so it's kind of more sort of legato. Whereas in the original region, we've got the gaps like so, and I'll just play you what I've got right here. Okay, great. Once again, what we're going to do is we're going to bounce in place. So Control B to bounce in place. I'm not going to bypass the plugins, and I'm going to set normalize for overload protection. And let's just OK that. Great. Once again, we're going to do a bit of reversing. So come up here, switch on reverse. Let's have a listen to that. Right, so you feel that build? That's kind of what we want. Now, the great thing about when you reverse audio, when you reverse an audio section such as this, the long decay of that piano chord is now going to be a long build, which is really cool and smooth. And then the initial attack portion, when reversed, becomes a nice gated chop. There you go. Lovely. Okay, so let's hear these together. I'm going to add a few more elements, and then I'm going to add some more effects to this. So let me just go ahead and put the parts in, and then we can come back and apply some effects. Okay, so as usual, I like to color code and label all of my MIDI regions and my audio regions, so it just makes things a lot more clear on screen. As you can see down here, these are all the MIDI parts that I've used, and up here are the audio versions reversed. So let me just go through these real quick before we apply the effects. So this first one here is Alchemy, and this is what the original synth sounded like. Okay, and now the reversed version. Great. Okay, so that's that one. Next one, so bright synth strings, and this is from the retro synth. That one's really, really simple, but when we apply the effects, you're going to start hearing the differences. So let's just go back a bit now. Let's go back to our core synth. We've got the spreader already engaged. But also, I'm now going to start using Logic's Fat effects. I just did one or two little adjustments here. Great. I'm really liking that. Okay, let's try the bright synth. Let's see what we can add to that. Again, I'm using the Fat effects right here. Let's see what we get. Bypassed. And now on. Slight pulsating there. Okay, sounding good. Let's mix these two together. Okay, sounding, I'm really liking that. Cool, that's sounding, that's really taking shape. Let's bring in, where's that guitar? So I've got the spreader and I've got the fat effects on there. Let's hear that in isolation. Sounds a bit weird on its own, but you bring it in with these. Now, what really makes this work is the sound is evolving over time and you're feeling the sound build up, cut, and that's what gives it that dramatic effect. Okay, now let's go in and bring in the piano sound now. Let's hear what that sounds like with the spreader and with the step effects, which I'm using. Okay, it's got a bit of distortion on there, which I like. There's tons you can do with these two effects, the step effects and the fat effects. There just isn't enough time to kind of really dig down into these. Maybe I'll do some videos specifically digging into these because they really can transform your sound. Now let's hear these together. Sounding great, loving that. Okay, and now for the bright synth, which was really quite boring. It was just this boring sound. Now we're going to apply a few effects, the ensemble effect, and most importantly right here, we're going to apply the auto filter. And I'm simply using one of the presets, always rising. I think I did a little something with the LFO and a touch of distortion, and let's hear what that does. Okay, let's bring that in with the rest. Now don't forget, this is where we started from. Now the whole thing is rooted on that. It's based on that. I've used a simple progression and I've just been using bounce in place, reverse, and just using different colors, different tones that will complement each other and give you that sense of the track evolving and building over time. Now the last element I'm going to apply is an 808 bass, and I'm probably going to use something from my Body Blows sample pack, which you can download for free right now. You'll find the link in the description. I'll drop that in, I'll arrange this up, and then we'll come back and hear the thing in its entirety. Okay, so I've put down the 808 bass and I've also arranged the piece. I've not really added anything extra apart from a couple of builds down the bottom here. But I do need to go through real quick and show you how I've used the effects and how I've created these two sections. Essentially, we've got the main section here and it repeats over here, and then we've got a filtered section in the middle. Now there are 3 additional effects that I'm using that are not Logic effects, but they're completely free and links will be in the description. The first one is Isotope Vinyl. Next one is Soft Tube Saturation Knob. A third one is the Wave Arts Tube Saturator Vintage. All 3 of these are completely free and you can download them and use them to really enhance your work. Okay, so let me play you back the section with the 808 bass, then I'll quickly go through and show you how the filtered section differs from the main section. Okay, so now this is your 808 bass. Using the sampler, and inside sampler, if you look down here, you'll see the file I'm using is the Body Blows Mega 808_15 WAV file. Grab your free copy of that right now. The link will be below. Okay, so over here we've got our filtered section, and all of these parts right here, they're going into a bus, a group bus, which has got on the bus an auto filter, the isotope vinyl plugin, as well as a space designer. So let me just play you a portion of this so you can hear what we're dealing with. Okay, now this is what's going on. The drums are filtered. We've got high pass filter here, cutting out all of the low end up to 85 Hertz, and a low pass filter, cutting out everything from 800 Hertz and above. We've also got a phase distortion unit, adding some resonance, and that's what's happening to the drums. Now for the rest of these parts, the auto filter, I've edited the envelope and the LFO to give me the sound I'm looking for. But the main thing I want to bring to your attention is the isotope vinyl. We're muting the bass and the drums, and we're going to listen to the filtered section because we're using the warp depth control to give this section a bit of a warped sound. Okay, so let me play back from here. Okay, I'm going to bypass and you can hear the difference. Right, so let's switch it back in and let's go a bit more extreme. Where are we now? We are at 50%, so we're going to go up to about 80%. Now that's a bit too much, okay? But you kind of get the idea as to why this is going across the bus, and all of these tracks are going through this unit. Okay, so let's put it back to 50%. The other thing I want to show you right here is right at the end of this section, I've automated the spin down function. So have a listen. Okay, so as you can see, it's automated, it's switched on now. But if we were to go back here, okay, a really cool effect that you can use. Now I'm going to play out with this. Now remember, there are only a few tracks here and pretty much everything is really, really simple to come up with. However, with some creative use of effects and one or two tricks, you can get a really cool, evolving, dark sounding R&B vibe in this case, but you could use these techniques across any genre.